back on the record, this is the case of the people of the state of Colorado versus James Egan Holmes, case number 12 CR 1522. The record should reflect that Mr. Holmes is present with his attorneys, and the prosecutors are generally present. Kinda present. Now, and Mr. Brockler is here. All right, are you ready for the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, are you ready, Mr. King?
Yes.
All right, let's bring them in, please.
Real quick, if I'm where, you just want to try to go till 5 and stop, find a place to stop at 5?
Yeah, please. If it's a few minutes before, that might be preferable, just so that I can give him the advisements before the weekend. Thank you. By the way, before the jury comes in, I got a note while the last segment was playing. Another juror is feeling sick, but she's hanging in there. So I don't know if it's something that's going around or it just happens to be coincidence, but.
Now, is that why they moved the Afghan around?
That was why.
And Judge, did you say that that juror was okay, or should we inquire, or?
Okay. Would counsel approach, please? Sorry to keep you all standing there. How are you? Good. Now you may be seated. Thank you. Everyone may be seated. The record should reflect that the jury is back in the courtroom. All right, Mr. Brockler, do you want to play the next portion of the segment of P-TR-1005 that you started playing before the last break?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's proceed, and then, folks, we'll stop a little bit before 5, just a few minutes before 5, to give me time to give you the advisements before the weekend. I know this comes as a surprise to you, but so we'll do that, and then my hope is that I will get you out of here right around 5 o'clock, okay? All right, thank you. Okay, I'm going to dim the lights now.
Can you put your finger on about when it may have? And I've got a timeline here about your mind stuff, but can you tell me about was?
I think it was in May. I'm not positive.
Let me look at the time on it. Okay. So that's about when the thoughts began to fill your life? Or tell me in your
Kind of
words
take
rather than my
over.
words. I'm sorry.
Kind of take over.
What was the process that led to your buying the taser and the knife? What was that like? That's what I'm asking.
Initially, I rationalized it as like self-defense.
Okay. Did you think about the purchase very long, or did it come to you kind of all of a sudden?
No, it was just all of a sudden.
What did you know about tasers and knives up to then? How did you pick a particular taser or the particular knife?
I just looked at the different types and kind of chose it random.
Chose it at random? Is that what you said? Did you research it at all?
I looked at the different types and the different prices.
Where did you look at it? In the store, online, magazines, online? So what did you choose?
I chose a taser that looked like a cell phone.
Okay. Remember the brand name or the model?
No,
And where did you acquire it? Where did you get it?
Amazon.
Okay. Your thoughts at that time, you used the word rationalize, but your thoughts at that time had to do with self-defense.
Right, that's what it was initially.
What was in your mind? What were the pictures or thoughts or fantasies in your mind about self-defense?
That I would be attacked by people.
What do those people look like?
Thugs.
Where are they? What's the circumstance? Can you expand on that a bit?
I'm just like walking down the street and thugs and rob me.
What do they take from you? What do they do?
Beat me up.
How? What's the video there?
Just with their fists and then steal all my money and stuff.
What happens to you after that?
They can't because I taser them instead.
If you don't taser them, what would happen?
Then I'd have to go through recovery, the hospital.
You'd been in some fights when you were a little kid, as I recall.
Not serious, kind of play fights.
Okay. Had you ever been beat up badly before?
No.
Okay. So the taser comes in a box marked Amazon, and the knife with it. What sort of knife was it?
I think it was Smith & Wesson folding knife.
Okay. So it comes in a box from Amazon, and what do you think?
That I'm safe.
Did you end up carrying them?
Sometimes.
Did you know how to use them? How did you figure out or assume that you would use them if the occasion arose?
Well, I practiced. There was like a pivot screw on the folding knife that you flip open. And
there's a limited charge on it, or was it rechargeable?
It's rechargeable.
Rechargeable. How did you test it?
I just pressed the button and saw the electric arc.
So it was a contact taser with little points and right between them. It wasn't one that
It wasn't a shooter.
shoots out. Okay. You said that the idea to purchase those things came quickly. Were there any thoughts about needing to defend yourself or wanting to assault other people before that?
Not that I know of.
Yesterday you talked about the frozen situations, neither fight nor flight, and kind of frozen in a social situation. And thoughts came to you about nuclear winter and about the saw.
Right.
When's the first time you recall having those kinds of thoughts?
Early high school.
Early high school. In early high school, was there ever anything more specific? I guess the saw is pretty specific. But ever anything about wanting to get a weapon or wanting to kill people or hurt people?
No, it wasn't realistic. It was just kind of obtrusive thoughts.
Okay. Was anybody particularly troublesome for you in high school or college for that matter? Somebody that picked on you or had it in for you or made you very uncomfortable?
No.
After getting the taser and the knife, I'll be clear, those were the first weapons that you purchased?
Yeah, and part of the reason I purchased them was because Hillary had someone slash her or like screen window something.
I'm remembering something like that. Tell me more about that, please.
She just said that she almost had a break-in. So I would be prepared if I had a break-in.
Did you advise her about being prepared?
No,
Or this had more to do with protecting you than protecting her?
yes.
What's the next thought that you had that you can recall about getting a weapon or something like that? Defensive or offensive?
Then it was offensive when I got the tear gas, I think.
And that was about when?
I don't know, you have the timeline.
Yes, I do. I'm trying to.
Okay.
I would like to verify the timeline and see if
I'm not sure.
you remember it similarly now to when you were. Actually, this probably had to do with researching the actual purchases, but I'd much rather hear it from you than look at somebody else's record.
Well, the record would probably be more accurate.
Yeah, but that's not always my purpose, is it? My purpose is to see what's in you,
Okay.
to try to understand what's in you.
So I think it was May or June.
Okay. Remember the thoughts about buying the tear gas? What came to mind? What pressed you to do it?
Well, I don't know how it changed from self-protection to aggression, offensive.
I suppose tear gas can be both offensive and defensive. But you're saying offensive is what
Yeah,
you just said.
I primarily thought of it as offensive, kind of crowd control.
Okay. Remember what your thoughts were at the time of what situation might arise in which you might use it?
If there was a riot, or if I started a riot, kind of thing.
And how would tear gas come into that?
It would disperse the crowd.
offensive move?
Because you're forcing someone to move.
Can we take it a little further? How does that accomplish an offensive task for you, if that's what you're speaking of?
I'm not sure.
My first thought is that it forces people to run away from you.
Right, that's what it's traditionally.
Why do you want them to run away from you?
So they wouldn't attack me.
That sounds defensive.
I guess it's both.
So what are you going to do as a result of their running away from you?
Avoid being attacked.
Anything else you're going to do?
No.
Okay. Do you recall roughly what the next things that you bought were?
Then I think I bought the handgun.
And which handgun or what handgun did you buy?
Glock 22, 40 caliber.
Okay. Was this also online, or did you get it at a store, or order it?
I tried to buy it online because it was cheaper online, but there's firearm transfer. There's a bureaucracy to it you have to go through. So I just went to the in-store and bought it there.
Okay. You remember what store you went to?
Gander Mountain.
They don't have Gander Mountain where I live, so tell me about Gander Mountain. What's Gander Mountain?
It's basically like selling camp supplies, outdoor supplies. Has the gun section.
Okay. Any particular reason you chose a Glock 40 or Glock 22 40 caliber?
The 40 caliber has more stopping power than the 22 or 9 mil. So that's why I chose that.
But less than a 44 or 45. Why'd you pick 40?
Well, as you go up, it creates more recoil in the gun. So you're less accurate, I guess.
Sounds like you researched that a bit.
A little, yeah.
How did you research it?
Just online searches.
Okay. You got a Glock 40 with these characteristics. Anticipating what, if anything?
That I could use it for self-defense initially. But then it went towards other purposes.
Other purposes?
Yeah, offensive.
Like what?
Like shooting a person.
At the time, if you remember, what was the picture or the thought or the fantasy in which you might use it?
Well, just in a mass murder situation.
That's different, at least in my mind, from shooting an individual person, a single person who's near you or in the room with you. You said mass murder. Well, tell me what the thought was.
Oh, shooting into the crowd instead of picking out people.
Okay. Did you have a particular crowd in mind, a particular setting in mind at that time?
No, not at that time.
So, going back now over 2 years, what do you think the crowd looked like? Where was it? What were they doing? What was going on?
still abstract.
In that abstract, in general, was the crowd, for example, trying to do something to you? Or doing something else? Or
They were just going about their business.
okay. Was there anything frightening about these people to you? In the thoughts at that time?
No.
Yesterday we talked about a word that some people use to describe you inside as angry.
Right.
Okay. As you were thinking about these things, buying a Glock, ordering a tear gas, are you angry, or what's the thought inside you at that time?
Kind of that I have a mission to complete.
Mission to complete.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound angry, but maybe it is. Is angry in there anyway?
No, there's no anger.
Okay. Tell me more about the mission to complete thought.
Just that it was something I had to do.
Did the word mission come out of you or come from somewhere else?
From me.
From me, from you. Okay. Did the having to do it come from inside you or from somewhere else?
Inside me.
What do you make of that? What's the something you had to do? Tell me more about what that is.
It's like I was obligated to do it.
In what way obligated?
That there was no other alternative to doing something else compared to it.
And what creates a situation where there's no other alternative?
A depressed situation where I transfer my feelings from suicide to homicide.
What brings you to that explanation that the obligation came from, in your words, a depressed situation where you transferred your feelings from suicide to homicide? Where does that explanation or interpretation come from?
I just made it up, imagined it.
Is that what you were thinking or imagining at the time, or you just made it up just now with me?
No, at the time.
That's interesting to me, a little confusing to me. You just made it up and imagined it, that it was a transfer from the suicidal to the homicidal.
Yeah, so I take my suicidal thoughts and make them go away by having homicidal thoughts.
Had anyone or anything taught you that that was a possibility, or what brought you to that conclusion? That my suicidal thoughts will go away if I have homicidal thoughts, or do homicidal things.
That's just what I figured would happen.
What you figured would happen.
Yeah.
So a little earlier we talked about suicidal thoughts. What were the suicidal thoughts like, if you remember?
Well, I didn't have them because I transferred them.
Okay. The word unconscious comes to mind.
Okay.
Does that come to your mind too, or not?
No.
Then how do you figure you had suicidal thoughts?
Because I was like almost catatonic.
What do you mean by catatonic?
Like didn't have the drive to do anything other than the mission I made.
What else how else is catatonic kind of defined in your mind at that time? Or now, for that matter?
A lack of energy, just not willing to get up or do things that I normally do.
And that's the way you felt?
Yep.
In May, June, I think we're talking about in 2012.
Yeah.
Were you still going to classes at that time?
Yeah.
When did your prelims come? When were those?
June, I think.
This was before the prelims?
Yes.
Were you staying in bed all the time, or were you actually getting it?
Every opportunity I had, I would stay in bed, but if I had to go to class, I would get up.
At this point, you weren't seeing your friends anymore, is that right?
Right.
Were you interacting with them by text or email or IM or anything like that?
No, I deleted their numbers.
Really?
Yeah.
And why'd you delete their numbers?
Because I kind of figured our friendship was over.
Any reason not to keep them in your phone, even if the friendship is over? Deleting numbers sounds to me like an active disconnection on your part.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what was the logic of that as contrasted with just ignoring them?
Well, in a way, it was ignoring them.
But you did something active. You deleted their numbers.
Right.
Of course, you could have called them anyway or texted them anyway. But the numbers were deleted from your phone, huh?
Yeah, kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Okay. Did they reach out to you or try to contact you or ask you to do things? Or?
No.
No. That sounds like a kind of a loss. You have 4 or 5 friends that then you don't have them all in the course of a couple weeks.
Right.
Did you feel a loss or sadness with that or no?
Yeah, I felt sad and depressed.
Tell me more about the sadness, depressed at that loss.
Well, they've been my friends for a month, so I was sad to see them go.
If they didn't go, you dismissed them. Is that right?
Yes.
It sounds like a small distinction, but it also sounds like a significant distinction.
Well, it was kind of mutual abandonment.
How did they abandon you?
Well, they stopped inviting me to activities and stuff.
Why do you think in their mind they stopped inviting you to activities?
Because Gargi didn't want to see me anymore.
So the group included Gargi, and because you broke up with Gargi, it no longer included you?
Right.
Okay. Did Ben continue to text you or call you or contact you?
I don't think so.
Did you try to keep in contact or get in contact with any of them?
No, I avoided contact and deleted their numbers, so I wouldn't contact them.
What else were you doing with your time around that time? What was going on, for example, with the video games?
Well, I was playing them. pretty a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
That I really like video games.
Any other reason?
That I was using them to kind of escape.
Any other reason?
Not that I know of.
Of the proportion, weighing the proportions between I really like video games and I need to escape. Of that 8 hours, what portion was I really like video games versus I want to escape? What do you think?
I think the escape was unconscious, so them really liking video games was probably 99%.
99% of the conscious,
Yeah,
if you include the unconscious.
maybe 50-50.
Do you remember the opponents or colleagues online that you,
They're usually just random people,
so there wasn't a particular
nemesis or something.
log on name or something like that that would come up that you would interact with in the games?
No.
Is it the rule, and I don't play online games, so you'll have to educate me a little bit. Is that the rule that there are so many people out there playing the game that you don't notice the different? Yeah,
The main game I was playing then was Diablo 3.
Diablo 3, right, okay. I looked that up. Very confusing to me.
Oh, okay.
So, were you in guilds and clans with those folks? Or
No, I was just playing randomly.
Okay. We started this chain of conversation about the suicidal thoughts being converted to homicidal thoughts. But as I talked with you, correct me if I'm wrong, you weren't aware of the suicidal thoughts.
It was kind of an automatic conversion.
Did you believe at that time that the homicidal thoughts were converted from suicidal thoughts, even though you weren't aware of the suicidal thoughts? Or is that something that you deduce after the fact?
I don't remember.
I guess it goes to the question of where's the mission coming from? In your thoughts at that time, where's the mission coming from?
As a kind of coping mechanism.
Is that really the way you thought of it at that time? I'm having a coping mechanism, and so I'm
No, at
on a
this
mission.
time it just happened.
Okay. Okay. Did you spend much time trying to figure out where the mission might be coming from, or did you just kind of,
Accepted.
here's the mission, and, I'm sorry,
Kind of just accepted the mission.
pretty serious mission to just accept? What do you make of the fact that you just accepted a mission of that seriousness? Once again, you're a smart
I
guy.
didn't think it was all that serious.
Tell me about that. I didn't think it was all that serious. When you've bought the tear gas, you bought the Glock at that point.
I didn't think of the consequences through.
Which consequences?
Of completing the mission.
So you're at the beginning of actually carrying out physical things related to the mission.
Right, ordering the weapons.
Are you saying that you didn't really think the mission was going to come to fruition? Or is that not what you're saying?
I just didn't know. I was preparing.
Okay. As you got items, did you have any particular feeling or experience once the item was gotten?
Well, I formed an attachment to it, learning how it worked, practicing with it.
Okay. And I guess I'm asking, it sounds like you're saying there was a pressure or a pretty strong, maybe impulse is not the right word, to get the tear gas canisters, to get the lock. After you had gotten it, was there any change in that pressure or that push?
No, it just kept escalating to get more and more weapons.
Okay. So getting the weapon didn't satisfy the, let me say, thought.
Correct.
Okay. And I'm not sure I'm conveying that very well, but well, let me just ask you, what do you think I'm asking? So we kind of get on the same page.
Were the weapons kind of fulfilling the mission on their own?
I'm sort of, that's pretty close. That's pretty close. And I'm probably not articulating it very well. Often we have you use the phrase obsessive compulsive. If I have a compulsion to check the door, make sense?
Right, people check it over and over again.
Yeah. Once I check it, the strength of the compulsion goes down for a little while. Does that make sense? I've satisfied the compulsion.
You don't need to check it for a while.
Okay. And it may be for a second, it may be for a minute or a day, but carrying out the act relieves the pressure for a while. I'm curious as to whether you experienced anything like that.
I would say yes, because I didn't buy all the weapons at one time, one single time. It kind of paced through it, going from compulsion to compulsion.
And you use the word escalation. How does that fit in this kind of thought?
Well, getting a shotgun is an escalation from just a handgun.
As you got more of the equipment, and you mentioned, you didn't use the word fascination, I don't think, but attachment, that's the word you used. Tell me about the attachment.
Well, as I got familiar to the gun, I became attached to it.
How did you get familiar with it? What was that process like?
Just taking it apart and assembling it again. Seeing how it worked.
So you did that
Yeah.
with each of the things that you got, or in certain particular ones?
Most was with the handgun.
Okay. I guess there are different levels of stripping a gun.
Right, I wouldn't like take it down to the factory kind of assembly part, but I would just do the basic assembling system.
Did you get pretty good at it?
Well, there was no reason really to get very good at it, but I could take it apart and put it back together again.
Not many people can do that, particularly people that aren't familiar with weapons.
Well, I wasn't disassembling
firearms that you bought were?
I think it was a shotgun.
Okay. And where did you get that? Locally or online?
I ended up getting everything locally. It was at like Bass Pro Shops, I think.
Was there any problem acquiring those different kinds of firearms and ammunition, etc.? Any problem?
They had it listed on their like kind of check-off list that people who are mentally ill can't buy them. They just have to be committed to like an asylum or something to be termed mentally ill in their words.
That wouldn't have presented a problem for you, right?
I thought it might be a problem.
In what way did you think it might be a problem if you'd never been in a...
I thought that Fenton and Feinstein may have diagnosed me as mentally ill, and then I wouldn't be able to buy the guns.
And the first time you went to see Fenton or Fenton, first it was Roth.
Right.
Fenton, what was the earliest you saw them?
I don't remember the month. It was before I started buying the weapon.
Okay, and you thought maybe you read some database or some record or something like that?
Right, it was a possibility.
Did it turn out to be a problem?
No. So I could order the gun and get it basically an hour later.
How much ammunition did you buy at the time?
I'd buy it in bulk, so like thousands and thousands.
Mostly local or mostly online?
Online.
Was that ever a problem, ordering bulk ammunition?
Nope.
Okay. What else did you buy?
Assault rifle.
Semi-automatic?
Yep.
Did you try to convert it?
No, I didn't have the knowledge to convert it to automatic.
Okay. Did you think about it?
I thought about buying an automatic, but there was a law that said like after a certain date, you can only own the automatic weapons you have. You can't buy new ones in the States.
Did you think about conversion kits?
No, I didn't, because I thought that would be too technical.
Okay. What else did you buy?
Another handgun.
And what kind this time?
Glock 23, also 40 caliber.
Okay.
Body armor, kind of interspersed with all this stuff too.
So you have two Glock 23s. I misspoke earlier. I said 22, but
I do. No, the first one was a Glock 22,
the first one was a Glock 22.
and the second one was a Glock 23.
What's the difference between a 23 and a 22 for the same caliber?
The 23's got a shorter barrel, I think. So they're almost essentially the same.
Around that time, did you have any picture in your mind of what you would look like using those weapons?
Yes, when I took a picture of me holding the weapons, wearing the body armor.
Tell me about that.
I don't know why I took them, I just took them. Just to be remembered or something.
To be remembered.
Yeah.
What were the pictures like?
Typical camera phone selfie pictures.
To be remembered. What will people looking at those pictures think or see when they see those pictures?
You'd have to ask them.
No, what do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I think they would remember it because they're kind of unusual pictures. weaponry and body armor.
Familiar in the ways of weaponry and
Body armor.
body armor, okay. Anything else that they infer from the picture?
Not that I can think of.
What might they infer from the picture?
That I'm a killer, I guess.
So we started out with being remembered. And some of the inferences are, this is a person who knows how to use it. And this is a person who's a killer. Any other inferences from the pictures that a person might have?
No.
I just happen to have the pictures. I think I did. And what I'm going to ask you is, what do you infer from the pictures? Describe for me one of the pictures, can you?
I'm wearing the bulletproof coat with tactical vest over it. I'm wearing the possession contact lenses.
Okay.
And I'm holding a gun.
And holding your gun. And they're in color. I mean, all pictures nowadays are in color. Black and white is very passe. See if I've got what you're referring to. You know, I don't have the one of you in the armor. Tell me again things that you infer from the picture of you in the armor. With which weapon is it that you're holding?
I don't think I was holding one. Or if I was, it was the assault rifle.
Tell me again what you just said about the inferences you would make when you see that picture.
Well, they're the same as the inferences I think other people would make.
And they are.
This is a guy who's familiar with these things. And this is a killer, what a killer looks like.
At the time you took the pictures, was that a guy who was familiar with these things?
I would say basic knowledge-wise, yeah.
At the time you took the pictures, was this a killer? This is what a killer looks like. Is that what that was?
That's what I thought.
Tell me more about thinking of James Holmes as a killer who knows what he's doing.
What else is there to tell?
How does it feel to be that person when you took the picture? Not today, but when you took the picture, how did it feel to be that person? Or were you trying to convey that and didn't really feel it? I don't know.
I didn't feel anything. It was just taking a picture.
You didn't feel anything when you were taking the picture? feel those things, but I wanted to convey, but I knew that those things would be conveyed. Does that make sense?
A little bit.
Okay. What might it have been about the way you were then that you wanted to convey that, even though you didn't feel it?
I'm not sure how to answer that.
It might have been a bad question.
Thank you.
But sometimes, very often in fact, people want to convey to others something different from what they really are or what they think they are. People want to look better, they want to sound better. They spin up a tale to tell strangers on a bus. That's different from the way they really are. You ever do that? I'm sorry?
So I don't think that's like an accurate depiction of who I am. It was just a moment, capturing of the moment.
Okay. Did you take other pictures?
Yeah,
All at the same time or over time?
over time.
Over roughly how much time?
A month, maybe.
A month, maybe. Other selfies, other pictures of the weaponry? Is that what we're talking?
Pictures of the movie theater entrances and exits.
Okay. Focusing right now on you, pictures of you, pictures of the weaponry, pictures of things in your apartment. Those were over a month or so?
No, those were pretty much the day of and a couple days before.
Okay. Here's one of the pictures that I've got. That one. Remember that one?
Yep.
Tell me about the guy in that picture.
He definitely doesn't look normal.
Tell me more.
He looks scary.
More.
I wouldn't want to run into him.
He's not the guy that thugs should mug.
Yes, that's true. He looks more like a thug.
Oh, he looks like a thug. Okay. Tell me
Not
more.
a typical thug.
Not a typical thug. What kind of thug does he look like?
Crazy thug.
Okay. Go into that a little bit more.
I don't know how.
Okay, it's a guy you're holding one of the Glocks. You don't have a beard.
Yeah, but clean shaven before I got to jail because they don't have good razors in jail.
Is that why you started growing the beard?
That's why I grow the beard, yeah, because they can't shave.
Not as convenient to shave.
The shaving doesn't work.
Tell me about the red hair on the guy.
I'd had that for a while by then. It's artificial.
Any particular reason that you dyed your hair a while before that? People dye their hair all the time, sure.
I think to stand out, I guess.
To stand out in what way? What's the thought?
To stand beside normalcy. To be exotic, I guess.
Ben had dyed his hair around that time, as I recall, right?
I think so. His wasn't quite as exaggerated as
Okay. Had you ever dyed your hair before?
no.
Why'd you pick red?
I thought it would look better than green or blue.
Okay. And you mentioned the contact lenses. Tell me about the contacts.
Well, those just happened to arrive on the day of the shooting. Otherwise, I would have taken the pictures beforehand on like whatever day they arrived.
tinted a little red, or are they black?
They're solid black.
Solid.
They cover the sclera black.
Okay. How well can you see through those?
Not at all, because my my normal contacts are prescription.
Okay. How opaque are they, or translucent, or transparent?
Oh, well, they have the hole where the retina is, so you can see. But I can't see because it wasn't prescription contact.
Okay, you're a little nearsighted. You're about
Right.
a -4.5 or something like that, myope, aren't you?
I don't remember.
Okay. So these particular cosmetic contacts have a little pinhole in the middle to look from through.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Interestingly, that might serve to focus on the retina if it's a pinhole, mightn't it? Probably neither here nor there. I'm assuming that you weren't wearing those contacts at the theater. Is that right?
That's correct.
Any particular reason that you ordered them?
I thought they looked cool.
Okay. And they arrived just the day of the of the incident, or the day before, the day before the night that you went in. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. That reminds me of something else I was going to ask. There were a number of things that you ordered that arrived kind of at the last minute. On the last day or the day before the last day. Were you worried that some of that stuff wouldn't arrive?
What kind of stuff are you talking about?
I'm trying to think which things, but the delivery time on some of them was within a day or a few days of the incident.
Yeah, well, I had my mind set on the Batman premiere of when it was going to happen. So I guess I kind of got squeezed for time a little bit.
Were you worried that they might not all arrive in time?
No, I think pretty much everything arrived before.
Good old Amazon.
Yes, we should.
Another picture. Tell me about this guy in this picture and what it conveys.
Well, that was like the incendiary devices that I made. And I was kind of blowing out the fuse.
You were blowing out the fuse.
Yeah.
Is that you were the fuse was not lit and you were blowing it, but is that
Right.
why the lips are pursed, as if you are blowing out the fuse?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the expression on that guy's face? What's that guy thinking or wanting to convey or infer?
I don't know.
What do you think? And I get a similar feeling myself anyway from this one as well. What's that?
What feeling are you getting? I don't know.
Yeah. What feeling are you getting?
Just that you want to stay away from them.
One of the things that comes to my mind, maybe I'm just odd, is impish.
Impish?
Impish.
What does that mean?
As an imp, there's a certain dangerous quality, but a light-hearted dangerousness. A smiling. That's not a good way to put it. Maybe like a little devil. An imp is a little devil.
Okay.
Does that resonate at all, or is that just me?
Well, I don't know where the little part comes in.
Okay. Then a devil. A devilish look.
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate. It looks a little devilish.
With regard to Batman, I guess I think of the Joker. He's not with your choosing the Batman premiere? Or not?
The main reason was because I knew it would be a blockbuster hit, so there'd be a lot of people there.
There are other blockbuster hits. This is a really big blockbuster and fills the auditorium.
Right.
Do you think, in retrospect, that there was anything non-coincidental about your picking that blockbuster instead of Avatar or something?
If it was unconscious.
You've tried to figure out unconscious things before. What do you think?
That it bears some resemblance.
Do you think the resemblance is coincidental?
I'm not sure.
There's a similar selfie. That might be the one I'm thinking of. That's this one. You remember that one?
Yep.
Tell me about that one. What's that guy?
It also looks devilish.
Anything else? Anything make it look additionally devilish to you?
The tongue sticking out.
Okay. What about the tufts of hair on the side?
Kind of like horns.
Is that on purpose, do you think? Or was it on purpose?
I don't remember doing it on purpose.
Okay. Because I agree with you, there is an impression of that adds to the devilish thought. And I was wondering whether you did
It was
it on purpose.
intended or not.
Beg your pardon?
It was intended or not.
Yeah. And your answer is?
I don't think it was intended.
Okay. This picture also has the tongue sticking out. Tell me about the tongue sticking out.
I don't know. People stick out their tongues.
They do. How about that tongue? Anything interesting about that tongue?
Just that it's my tongue.
It's your tongue. Anything interesting or unusual about your tongue?
No, it's perfectly normal.
Are you familiar with the Bible? No.
Yeah.
Okay. You took pictures here. How about that one? Tell me about this one.
That's a picture of all the equipment I bought.
When was the picture taken?
I think it was the day of.
Tell me about the thought and the purpose in that picture.
That was just to show that I could buy all that stuff and nobody would notice.
All right, I'm going to turn the lights back on. The record should reflect that the people have stopped playing P-TR-1005. Members of the jury, it's about 7 minutes until 5. First, I want to give you a reminder that the defendant's statements on this video recording have been admitted only for a limited purpose. You may consider his statements on this video recording only as to the issues raised by his plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. You shall not consider them for any other purpose. Dr. Reed's statements on this video recording may only be considered for the limited purpose of allowing you to evaluate the reliability of his examination and to provide context to the statements made by Mr. Holmes. You shall not consider any statements made by Dr. Reed on this video recording for any other purpose, including for the truth of the content of those statements. Does everybody understand that? Yes, okay, thank you. All right, since I'm not going to see you until next month, which is Monday, I'm going to give you the advisements again, so please bear with me for just a moment. Number one, please do not discuss any aspect of the case with each other through any means. You're free to talk to each other, but not about the case. And I know that sometimes it can be tempting during a break to want to talk about what's going on in the proceedings. You must resist that temptation. Number two, You may not communicate about the case with anyone else through any means. That includes your family members, including your significant other or spouse. I know how difficult that must be. I'm sure that there are days when you get home and you want to talk about what's been happening here, or perhaps your family members or friends want to talk about what's been happening here, and you have to resist that temptation. I know it's not an easy thing, but we didn't just go out and pick the first 24 people who were summoned for this jury. We took months to select a jury, and we all are confident that you are folks who can do this and who will do this, and I am confident that you're doing it. All you can tell people is you're a juror in a trial in Arapahoe County that is expected to end in August or September. Number 3, please do not talk with any witnesses, parties, or attorneys about anything, whether related to the case or not. Number 4, please make sure that you wear your juror badge at all times when you're here on the courthouse premises, and that your juror badge is visible to everyone around you. Please try to avoid hearing anything about the case. If people are talking about the case in your presence, please remove yourself from that location immediately. If, despite your best efforts, you happen to overhear something about the case, let my staff know that you need to talk to me about something. Don't identify what that something is. Just say, I need to see the judge about something. Number 5, please do not talk to any members of the media about anything, not just about the case. Number 6, you must not read, view, or listen to any news or media reports that may refer to the case. Because there's media coverage of the trial, please be particularly vigilant while listening to the radio, watching TV, reading the newspaper, and using the internet. The best advice is to try to avoid the news, because otherwise you could inadvertently happen to come across a story. So if you are watching the news or listening to the news or on the internet, just be vigilant that something may come on, and be quick to change the channel, change the station, or exit the screen or turn the page if you're reading the newspaper. Number 7, please remember that you cannot visit any locations that are mentioned in the case, and you cannot conduct your own investigation outside the courtroom. That means that it would be improper for you to acquire any information by consulting a dictionary, a treatise, whether it's a legal book, a medical book, a technical book, a religious book. You cannot consult any outside sources in relation to this case. Number 8, you cannot start forming any opinions about the case until I tell you that you can start deliberating. I've mentioned this before. Sometimes I think we all get used to this idea in our culture of thinking in terms of a competition, or who's ahead now, who's behind now, who just scored, who just was scored against, that kind of thing. And you have to avoid the temptation to think along those lines. You have to keep an open mind throughout the trial. And not only is it improper for you to start deliberating among each other and to start talking with each other about the case, but it's improper for you to internally, in your own mind, start forming opinions or deliberating about the case. You have to keep an open mind, and you cannot start deliberating until I tell you that you may do so at the end of the trial. Number 9, neither sympathy nor prejudice for the prosecution or the defendant may affect any of your decisions in this case. And number 10, please remember that the attorneys have a job to do, and sometimes they are required to make objections. Please don't hold it against them when they do make objections. Similarly, please don't read anything into my rulings on any objections or any requests. I'm doing my best to apply the rules of evidence and other applicable rules of law. Please remember that each and every one of these advisements is extremely important, and you must avoid an attitude of, it's okay to violate one just one time, or who's going to find out if I violate one of these advisements or more of these advisements. You have to avoid the temptation to think along either one of those lines, because that's what gets you in trouble, and then that's what could cause problems here. All right? with those advisements in mind, I wish you a great weekend. It's supposed to be sunny, so enjoy the weekend, and I'll see you back here on Monday. Get some rest this weekend. Thank you, folks. The record should reflect that the jury has exited the courtroom. Everyone may be seated, please. I have a few things on my list to go over, so I will do that now, and then I will ask counsel if they have anything that we need to talk about. First, I want to make a record that juror number 378, as far as I've been able to tell, has been awake, alert, and attentive throughout. She's the one that I brought into the courtroom about a week ago and asked her whether she was having any issues with falling asleep or whether she was having any difficulty staying awake. I have been keeping a close eye on her, and I have not noticed her once to be falling asleep. I have seen that she sometimes puts her head down or has her head down, but then when I look at her hands, I can tell that she's writing in her notebook, or if I'm standing by the jury box, which sometimes I have to do when the physical model is used by a witness, I can tell that she's actually reading her notes or reading something in her notebook. So I wanted to make a record that since we brought her in and had that conversation with her, I have been paying close attention to her and have seen her to be awake throughout and appears to be paying attention. And my observations about when she puts her head down are consistent with what she told us when she was here and I spoke to her alone. The second item on my list is the tendered instruction by the defense with respect to the model, the physical model. Mr. Orman, I think you said you wanted a little time to think about that, and this is defense tendered instruction number 1. Have you had time to do that, and are you ready to address it, or do you need the weekend to do it?
I think Ms. Pearson's going to address this issue. Let me talk to her about what
Okay.
she'd like the weekend, Your Honor.
All right, so then I'll follow up on that on Monday. I mentioned earlier that I'd be happy to provide a redaction instruction with respect to the videotaped interview of Dr. Reed, the interview by Dr. Reed of the defendant, and the instruction that I would give is the same one that I have offered before, and that is something along the lines of: members of the jury, certain evidence has been admitted with redactions. You're instructed that you're not to draw any inferences from those redactions. You should not guess or speculate about the redactions or about the reasons for the redactions. All redactions have been made by the court based on the applicable rules of evidence and other rules of law. The defense has asked me not to give that instruction, and so I'm not giving it because of that request, but I wanted to make a record as to what that instruction how it would read in case the defense wanted me to give it. The last thing on my list is that since we have the weekend, it may be a good idea for the parties to review all the orders that I have issued related to experts on mental health, and that includes orders D-250, D-241, D-246, D-248, and D-264 small a-3, and perhaps it may be a good idea for the experts to do so as well, just to avoid any issues. Is there anything that we need to talk about on behalf of the prosecution at this time?
I just want to make sure that, I think I know which orders you're talking about, that I get that correctly, and you went a little bit fast. Could you say that list again a little bit more slowly so I can make sure we pull all the right orders?
Yes, this is the list I have, and Ms. Nelson, you should listen to the list, and if you think I need to add any others, let me know. But this is the list that I have: D-250, D-241, D-246, D-248, and D-264 small a-3.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, is there anything, Ms. Nelson, did I miss any that you had on your list? I think my list is consistent with yours, but
May I have just a moment to
Yes.
check my notes?
Yes, why don't you do that? We'll go to Ms. Tish McGuire, who's at the podium, and then we'll come back to you. Ms. Tish McGuire, go ahead.
Your Honor, as the court remembers, we admitted some stipulated unemployment records of the defendants, which were Exhibits 1078A and 1078B. I believe that the court released those documents to the media and that some media entities have maybe posted those documents. Those documents contain the Social Security number of the defendant, and I got contacted by 2 assistant attorney generals who are concerned that potentially some entity was in violation of Colorado Revised Statute 61715, which is the confidentiality of Social Security numbers, which prohibits a person or entity from publicly posting or publicly displaying an individual's Social Security numbers. And the definition of public display under that statute is to otherwise make available to the general public. So I told those assistant attorney generals that I would bring it to the attention of the court and the media who's present in the courtroom today. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. I will look into it. Anything else from behalf of the people?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Nelson? No problem. While she's doing that, is there anything else that the defense wants to address today before we adjourn for the weekend, Mr. King?
No, Your Honor.
All right.
I think you covered the important ones, Your Honor. For, just to be on the safe side, I might add D240 and D247, which I can't recall offhand if those were on the court's initial list or not.
Okay.
But otherwise, that sounds right to me.
All right, thank you. So D240 and D247 as well, you may want to take a look at. Especially since we have the weekend, it might be a good idea for the experts to review those again. All right, is there anything else then? No? All right, thank you. Have a good weekend. I'll see you on Monday. The court will be in recess.